Hello.
Hi there.
How are you doing? It's been a while.
Yep, it has. Well, it's interesting. The week we didn't have a meeting, I connected
Up.
and waited for 15 minutes. Then it said, "Hey, dummy, I think we're not having a meeting today." And then the meeting that I missed, that I had been working quite a bit, and I was basically wiped out, and I laid down for a quick nap, and that quick nap ended up 4 hours later. So,
I uh, I I went in and started to lay down like about 45 minutes ago, and I went, no, I better not. I better not do this.
yeah. Yeah, unless you've got a reliable alarm clock or some or prompter or whatever.
Well, I mean, Patty's awake. She would have gotten me up, but I would have been extra. Uh,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
yeah. So, no, I you're here in Ohio now, right?
And I am
No,
not.
oh, you're still in California. Okay.
Yeah, we've been dealing with some medical problems and delayed our return to Ohio. And at this point, um, it's pretty much open ended. I'm not sure when we're going to get a resolution
Yeah.
on what's going on. So I'm guessing that we will be here for at least another month, something like that.
Okay.
Excuse
Well,
me.
that's all right. It's been chilly here, so you 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 won't like it.
Well, cold weather didn't bother me. I mean, I grew up in Columbus, Ohio,
Yeah. No,
so
I'm just messing with you.
mhm.
It's just I almost the weather it feels like fall right now, and it's
Really.
yeah. At least it does to me. What do you
Well, you,
think, Barry?
you have a problem with 40 to 60?
I have a problem when it was 80 going down to 50. That just got cold.
Yeah.
Let's
Ah,
say it's supposed to be down to like what, 43 tonight or something?
yes, according to my little weather app, it's going to be 50 down to 41 overnight.
Okay.
And then Saturday it's going to be 46. But our high is going to be 64. So it's going to feel extra cold because it'll be warm out.
Okay. Yeah, we're our temperatures here are not much different from yours. I mean, it's been, I don't know, we've gotten days up spiked up to like 90, but for the most part it's been I don't know, 60 down to um 40, something like that.
Yeah. Well,
It'll warm up soon enough.
I hope so. It just feels like spring or fall. It just feels like fall. And it's kind of rainy, miserable. It's got that fall kind of feel to it.
Okay.
And there's Mr. Steve who snuck
Hello.
in here. What's going on, Mr. Steve?
Almost nothing. Trying to figure out how, I'm using the word computer, how in Windows to log out of the account. I can't I have no idea. It's being stupid.
What
Microsoft deemed you're not allowed to do that anymore, so they've removed that button.
so you can't log out of your account?
I'm never at a point in Zoom where I can say I don't want to be meeting presenter. That apparently at some point I logged in on this thing, and I'm pretty sure never in a meeting, just on the web page. And so it set something somewhere, and I can't figure out how to unset it. So sorry about that.
Hmm. Now there used to be a way to log out and log into a different thing. I don't know. Did the latest version of Zoom uh popped up and said, check out Zoom storage. They're giving us a drive or something. I don't know.
Have you
Hmm.
tried right clicking your home button?
Okay.
Does it give you
And
an option now?
home button on what?
So like your little Windows button, if you right click it, and now it's been moved to like a shutdown or sign out option.
No, I'm not trying to figure out how to log out of Windows. I'm trying to figure out how to tell Zoom client that I'm
Oh,
not meeting presenter on this computer.
I got you.
And yeah, that has been eluding me for months. Yeah, I know how to log out of Windows. You just unplug it.
I don't understand why they took it off the main bar. I was like, that's asinine.
Well,
Mhm.
I don't understand. Well, I haven't really used Windows in 4 or 5 years, so I don't understand Windows anymore anyways. I've gone over and helped my dad with his computer a couple of times because I really want to get him on Linux, but his wife doesn't want change. And I'm like, you're on Windows. Change is going to happen.
Hmm.
So it's I just go over there and make sure their antivirus is updated and a few other things. Microsoft did something. He had a Hotmail account for a while and he had a Gmail account for a long while. Both of which were working just fine with whatever the Outlook Express replacement was. And then all of a sudden, Microsoft decided they aren't going to support whatever that replacement was and deleted it. And we could not get it to come back. And of course, he doesn't remember his password to either one of those. So we had to set him up new accounts. And I told him just use it on the website because that was easier. But that was fun trying to figure all that out. You know, he had the
You mean
two.
dual boot is definitely possible and
What?
pretty easy.
Yeah,
And running Windows, I mean, you can do a P to V of the current system, put in a bigger drive and run it as a VM, and somebody would probably never know.
somebody probably would never know. You're probably right. Now, See, I think all they really do is website stuff and email. They don't need anything fancy. And I've gotten them to use uh, Brave, and I've gotten them to use GIMP for that for whenever they need photo editing, and I've gotten them to use LibreOffice. So it's not like they're not used to some of that stuff. They're just not used to maybe the menu system or whatever.
One of my favorites has always been but I know Windows. And I've never told this to anybody's face, but I have forgotten more Windows than most people will ever know. And I've never met anybody that actually knows Windows. You may know how to use Acrobat Reader, but Jesus Christ, if you had to change a couple registry keys for it, and you've got to go looking for those bizarre 18 character UUIDs shit, and it's like, no. When I can make Linux look like Windows if you want. If it's just the pretty colors you like, that's easy.
Well, like I said, I'm slowly getting them accustomed to some of this other stuff like
Yeah.
GIMP and LibreOffice, and eventually I'm just going to switch their machine over and they're not going to know the difference. There's going to be a little, instead of a little start button, there's going to be a little LM down in the corner.
Give them a Windows XP start button, something that actually says start.
I could, I could do that. But
That link I posted is my opinion on the Windows start button. Everybody still calls it that. It hasn't been a start button for 20 years.
well, Dad's got the same machine that I've got, which is nice, except, I've got Linux on mine. There is, what is that thing called? I don't remember. Has something to do with encrypting the drive. Some sort of
BitLocker, Lux,
BitLocker.
or
BitLocker.
VeraCrypt.
It's BitLocker. You've got to go in and turn that off and something else before the Mint installer would even recognize the fact that the drive was there.
Turn off secure boot, maybe.
And maybe it was secure boot. I'm pretty sure I've got secure boot turned on this one though. I don't remember it. It was kind of a pain because I didn't even want to log into Windows 11 when I first bought this machine. I just wanted to install, and of course the installer booted right up and everything, but it didn't see the drive, and I was like, oh crap. So I had to go in and log into Windows, and then Windows wanted to do updates, and I'm like, no, I'm getting rid of you. I don't care if you do updates. But it was, just jumping through hoops to do something that should be simple.
I've
And
got a Windows V10 or yeah, Windows 10 VM that I run probably once every 3 months just to do updates. Because if you wait too long, you can't do updates properly. And I haven't actually needed it for anything in probably 3 years. Hmm.
yeah, well, one of my first machines, Windows, there's um, some radio software that I used to program a couple of the radios. And that was really the only thing that I used Windows for. But every time I would boot into that particular machine's Windows, it would reset the boot partition so that it would only boot to Windows. Yeah, it was fun. So I think I installed Grub for DOS or something like that, and that fixed part of that problem. And then you had to repair the bootloader every single time you logged into Windows. And that was just a pain. So then I set up to use a virtual drive, which was fine. It would boot right into the physical drive, but then you had to watch it because if you if you missed the selection screen and it booted into Linux, then it would corrupt your Linux install. So, and I did that twice, I think.
Oops.
Oops. That one was way easier to fix. So you just boot back in and like partition magic and tell it to scan the drive, and it fixed it. Way easier to fix.
At this point, it seems like the simplest way to go is separate drives if you can, and set up your switching in Eufy itself.
Yeah.
Proxmox.
Well, that's just running two VMs then.
Yeah, but Windows can't smoke the other ones.
Well, yeah. And
Well, the thing is I haven't booted into that Windows machine 5 years, maybe more. So I think the last time I even tried to do it, the VM couldn't find the boot thing. I think I have erased Windows off of that machine altogether. It just expanded the drive clear out. Steve looks frozen. Yep.
There he went.
So what happens when you look frozen? You just disappear. What's going on, Mike? Anything new?
Well, a whole bunch of stuff that's new. Probably not anything that's of much interest to the group. Vincente dropped off his son's gaming computer a couple of weeks ago. And I said, well, I don't want to mess up anything that I have from the old machine. So I'm going to get a fresh hard drive and install the Windows that he had with it, Windows 8.1. So I hunted around and I found a drive that had been in my brother's trunk for a couple of years. It had been kicking around the house. And I said, that's just the right size. It's a small drive, a relatively high speed. So I loaded Windows 8.1 on that. Everything seemed to work. Julie and I then proceeded to load the machine up with all of the links, passwords, logins, and we spent 4 solid days before the drive crapped out. And I figured out why it was in the trunk of my brother's car.
It's a paperweight.
Very frustrating. I have fixed it though. I don't know whether you can see that or not.
Might I suggest SSD? They definitely handle being in a trunk better.
Well, I would, but both SSDs that I had in the other machine, and I did not want to use them and overwrite any data that was on them. And thank you very much, Vincente. Your computer is up and running. I was just telling them that after I had installed the Windows 8.1, I discovered that the drive was bad. Nothing that you had given me. It was all what I had done.
Yeah. Speaking of stuff, my dad really appreciated the keyboard.
Oh, good.
That was very handy. And I will tell you, you were a little worried about the lights, the
Yeah.
LEDs. So he calls me up probably 2 days after I give it to him, and he says, I sure really like those lights. It made Penny really happy because she couldn't see the keyboard. And he just went in there and hit the button to turn them back on, and she was, oh, I can see this. Oh, wow. This is great. And I'm like,
The whenever
okay.
I turn on the machine or plug that keyboard in, it was like ADD heaven for somebody. It's like I can't I can't wait to get the flashing running lights across the keyboard turned off. And I plugged it
Well,
in so infrequently. It's like I don't remember how to turn those off.
the I mean, I plugged it into his computer, and immediately it started doing animation patterns and whatever. I'm like, you probably won't use this for anything. So I saw where the two buttons you needed to turn it off.
Yeah.
And of course, that's a feature they really liked. So okay.
Well, as my aunt used to say, ain't no accounting for taste.
I mean, they don't bother me on my keyboard, but I've got mine turned, set so that it's barely lit. They're just barely on. But I thought it would really bother him, and no, no, of course not. He really liked it, so he really appreciates that keyboard.
Uh, I am just super happy I don't ever have to deal with it again. And on top of that, the fact that somebody likes it, that's a bonus.
Yeah. Well, I even kind of looked at him and said, I don't know if you're going to like this or not, but Mike Sullivan gave you a keyboard. We were talking about keyboards, and he had an extra one, and sure enough, he loves it. So, you know,
Fantastic.
so you made a friend again.
Well, it's probably been 30 years since I last spoke with your dad.
Yeah. Dad, I asked him if he knew you, and he said, the name sounds really, really familiar. I said, yeah, you two probably worked out at the mill together, though I think you were in a different department. You weren't in East Processing.
No.
So he said, oh yeah, yeah, maybe I did out at the Coke plant, right? I'm like, oh, I think so, but yeah.
Uh,
So he remembers you and knows you, but he doesn't really remember you. Does that make sense?
yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I thought you would like to know that he really appreciates the keyboards.
Well, good.
So,
Uh,
On a similar note, my mom had a cheap little Logitech K, whatever these things are, the little tiny wireless keyboards with a trackpad on the left side or right side. And she didn't like it because she kept running into the trackpad and should be typing something, and all of a sudden the cursor was in the wrong spot. I'm like, yeah, I understand that. And she used a mouse anyway. So I took over 3 keyboards, one with red switches, which I hate, one with brown switches, which I like, and one with clicky blue switches. I mean, loud. And I set all 3 of them down. I'm like, just feel them. Tell me which one you like best. She's like, there's no difference. What? Oh, okay. Well, what color do you like best? Blue one, white one, or black one? I don't care. Ah, just pick a keyboard, Mom.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Yep, pretty much.
Well, my sister has a collection of photographic albums, and she had asked me to help her scan those in. And I said, well, exactly how many do you have? And she said, I think it's around 17,000 photos. It's like, okay. So I am operating the Epson PhotoFast 680 scanner. It does front back of the photo 1 a second. And I'm doing that. And I say, now you have the difficult part of going through with Photo Gallery Live and IDing all of the people that are in these photographs. And I had an old laptop. I took that and I said, now this is the way you do it. You bring up the photograph and you use the mouse to put a box around the face and then identify the person. And she said, well, how do you make the mouse move? How do you make that little thing on the screen move? And it's like, I knew that my sister was computer illiterate, but I had no idea she didn't understand the concept of moving a cursor around with a mouse. So we spent 3 days doing like, here's the on button. Uh,
I I was I was told many, many, many years ago, Windows 3.1, when it shipped and it came with Minesweeper. Minesweeper was meant to teach people how to use a mouse.
And if you were good, you'd start it up,
yeah.
type XYZZY, enter, enter, and win every time.
Yeah. But
Made a single red pixel appear in the upper left corner whenever you were hovering over a mine.
mm,
Oh, wow.
I never was good. I never knew the shortcut. So last week I played around a bit with that robot and trying to get the wheels to spin with a slider switch, and the robot kind of failed. So this week I have been fighting all week trying to get the battery to take a charge. I think that battery is,
Yours
well,
damaged.
yeah, I think somehow, but what's really, really bad, Barry gave me a bunch of those same size batteries that were not rechargeable. It's killed 2 of those batteries, and those batteries should not have died like that. So I think there's actually something wrong with the either the atom or the uh,
Motor
controller,
driver?
the motor driver. Remember how I said it was getting really hot? I
Oh, the,
think
the motors drain a lot of current,
yeah,
you know.
I think I've taken it, and I think it's getting to the point of toasting it. Those batteries that Barry gave me, those little tiny lithium batteries, um,
They're kind of
the
old though. They may not be that great.
both of them have a 2028 date on them now.
Do they?
Yeah. I mean, and they've been just sitting on the shelf. They should be good. And
CR123s.
no,
Yeah.
they're the
They're like half or two-thirds C size.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that's a CR123.
Yeah.
Those things can dump a huge amount of current. If you've got a short, I would expect wires to start making smoke.
Yeah, well, I would have expected something. I haven't seen smoke, but I'm definitely killing batteries quickly. So,
I just had this vision that rather than look for the source of the power drain, you'd set a large 12-volt lead acid battery on top of the robot, but it would be a little sluggish. The response
hmm,
would be quick.
just stick wheels on the 12-volt battery. That'll work.
That's a that's a Trump-like solution if I ever heard it.
Well, I mean, this little round robot, which is sitting over on the workbench trying to take a charge, has been. I have had this thing for, I don't know, 3 years, 4 years. I'm sure I got it just before COVID. And I've used it. I use it like every couple of days or whatever. I make a program to do something. So for it to suddenly just decide that it doesn't want to work just seems very odd to me. And I have never, last week it got really hot. And I've never seen it get really hot. So I think there's a short somewhere in there, and I don't know what to do about it. I guess it's time to get a new motion drive.
Or an ammeter. Just
Or
Well,
flip a wire, hook up your meter, see how much current it's drawing. It
yeah.
should be,
according to that, it's not drawing very much at all. It's pretty typical. I don't think the M5 Atom is bad though. I think the motor driver. I think
yeah.
there's a short on the motor driver somewhere, and I don't really know where.
So
I'll play
put
with.
a put a meter in line with the battery,
Yeah.
see what the current draw is with no motion and left motor and right motor, and they should be pretty close to the same and should be pretty
So
close to zero when they're off.
when now I've had it on the charger most of the day. We went out and we did some stuff. I came back and was trying to drive a couple of motors just before the meeting, and the wheels barely moved. Barely moved, and I'm like, that ain't right. This thing's been on the charger all day long. So now it's back on the charger, back on the battery conditioner, and it looks like it's getting better, but who knows? So yeah, I guess I'll have to, maybe I can stick a current in between the motor, see what the current draw of the motors are.
Replace the
Have you got
motors.
a reasonable power supply that tells you current
Yeah.
and voltage?
Um, yeah, I think so. I'll have to dig that out. I don't know where that is.
They're real handy.
Can replace the battery with a power supply with a current display or something with a couple of clips or something
Yeah,
in the contacts of the
yeah,
battery holder.
yeah, I don't know where that's. I've got a brand new power supply somewhere. It's in a box. I've never used it. I bought it at Micro Center. It was clearanced out for like $40 or something. It,
Nice.
it was a
You
nice,
can set the voltage and the current, max current.
yeah, it was a nice
So
power supply, but I've never used it. It's just set in a box. It's kind of like the oscilloscope that I bought from Micro Center has just set in a box. I've never used it.
Well, we all suffer from that. My little uh, oscillating saw, the blade is just dull as sin. And I know I have a fresh box of blades in the garage that's as specific as I can get.
I've seen your garage. I believe that.
I once had a car and a van in that garage.
Oh, now you've got me thinking, where is that power supply? I know I've got, where is that? Ah, I've got a reflow station somewhere. I have used that. I don't like it, but I have used it. Um, I've got a CNC desktop CNC machine with a laser cutter on it. That's in a box. I think I know where that's at. I
Well,
bought
it's a
that. I
pretty
bought that.
big object.
Eh, it's not as big as you think. Um, I bought that a year before COVID, and it sat under the workbench forever, and I never did anything with it. Got it cheap from China before, while you could when you could still get stuff cheap from China.
How strong's the laser? 5 watt or one
Uh,
of the little 1.6?
it's blue. I know it's blue. I want to say I thought I opted for the bigger one. I think it's a 10 watt.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that one should be pretty competent.
Yeah. I just need to like actually put that project together, and I know it's supposed to you you were supposed to be able to use Inkscape to make your
Mhm.
designs. And then it's got like um it's not a Dremel. But it's like a Dremel, a rotary tool that can do cuts and stuff. I think they called it an engraver. I don't think they ever actually called it an actual CNC machine,
Yeah.
but you just keep telling it to go over the same spot. Just keep going over the same spot. It'll be fine. But yeah, that was one of those. I bought it, thought I would use it, thought I would put it together, opened the box up, looked at all the parts, went, cool, shoved it under the workbench and never thought about it. I know where, I think I know where that one's at. I think it's still under the workbench.
If you want to sell it, let me know.
He's got to find it first.
That one should be easy to find. It's the other stuff that's not easy to find. I'm not real sure. I'm not real sure where that oscilloscope is. That's kind of distressing because if Ray was here, he would be like, "How could you lose an oscilloscope?"
I was gonna say if you need someplace to store it.
Yeah. If you were a little bit closer to me, Barry, I might take you up on that. If you were a little bit closer to me, I might run down there with a couple more 3D printers and we set up a whole print farm. You guys know I've got two brand new 3D printers because when I went to Columbus to pick up my good 3D printer, it made more sense to buy three of them because two of them were deeply discounted and closed out. So I've got two more brand new 3D printers sitting in a box.
What kind did you get?
Oh, I would have to look. Um, Starts with a B. And they are 100% Chinese 3D printers. There's like no support, no nothing. It's the guy when I bought them up there at Micro Center, he looked at me and he said, "Have you used a 3D printer before?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Good, because
Are you
we get these
sure?
we get these returned all the time." I'm like, okay. So, um, yeah, he wanted to make sure that I knew what I was doing with them.
Anybody ever needs to borrow an oscilloscope, I've got a decent little Rigel. Does the automatic decoding of serial streams and all sorts of fanciness.
Well, I am very pleased to tell you that I have used the oscilloscope you gave me several years ago, and I certainly appreciate the gift. That was nice. Thank you.
You're welcome. I gave you an oscilloscope.
So again,
What? What did I give you?
a
Oh,
keyboard that lights up flashes.
was it a 10 megahertz, something like that?
Uh, I'd have to look at it. It's down in my basement office.
Ah,
Had two probes, a manual on the top of the plastic, and a swivel handle. And the front came off, and it was dual trace.
cool.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, BNC connectors all the way across the front. I don't remember the name of it.
Did it have a little plastic cover?
Like
The-
a tray that fits over the screen. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. That was a Tektronix then. Yeah, that's a decent scope. I remember that one now.
Yeah, very good. Very good brand.
That was one I picked up from the UC surplus store when those were still a thing, I believe.
I put the name of the printer in the chat. It's a BQ BIQ U, a B1 and a BX. And I got one for I think $60 and one of them I got for $40.
Hard to beat that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how you pronounce that in Chinese.
BQ, BQ. I don't know, but they are a very Chinese brand apparently. And if you already know 3D printing and how to correct issues with 3D printers, apparently they're all right. But if you don't know anything, these are not good 3D printers to start with,
Well, what
apparently.
was it? 35 years ago, the digital watches came out with the four buttons, and you had to press all the buttons in the right sequence in order to get it to change time, anything. I think I still have one of those watches laying around because I've forgotten the instructions.
I bought a couple of weeks ago, we were at went to Walmart. Patty needed something. I don't usually go to Walmart. I don't particularly care for Walmart. They had a couple of watches on sale, and I went, I could use a new watch. And I bought one and brought it home. It was another one of these deals. It set on the charger for 24 hours and would not take a charge. And now I know why they were on sale. They had been sitting forever, and I could not get them to take a charge. I finally got one of them to come on, but it would only work if it was sitting on the charger. As soon as you take it off the charger, it died.
So Julie's niece graduated college, and we went over to visit her. And I wore this watch. And I said, I was given this watch when I graduated high school. And one of her niece's friends said, well, how many batteries have you gone through? And I had to explain to them, no. Oh, you wind this. And they looked at me like I was insane. A watch you had to wind?
Winding a watch? What about what about the advancements in winding watches, the ones that would self-wind as you walked?
Well,
Um,
there are people that are
we
so
we can't
lazy,
we can't
they'll
hear
have
you,
the
Art.
watches run down.
We can't hear you, Art. Did you hit? Did he hit mute?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I pressed the magic button by
The ma
mistake.
the magic button. You were saying something about watches, maybe?
Well, yeah, they had a little pendulum in them that as you move your wrist around, of course, the pendulum flipped, and that would wind it up. So,
Many years ago, I had a auctioneer friend who did a big, huge watch auction for a guy. And he had self-winders and all kinds of stuff. And some of that stuff brought some crazy, stupid money. Some of it was he was lucky to get a couple of dollar bid out of, but I guess you got to know your watches to know which ones are worth anything.
Well, many of you know that Julie visits patients with hospice, and her current patient is someone who had collected pocket watches. And she asked him how many pocket watches he had in his collection. He said a little over 1,000.
hmm.
And So that's been something that she has taken with her, books on pocket watches. And he can look at them and say, oh, yeah, that one's good. That one's that. This is, and he knows it's like all I know about a pocket watch is you put it in your pocket. I mean, that's it. Ah,
This one was my
Yeah.
grandfather's. This is an old Hamilton. They were called railroad watches. This
Yep.
particular one is platinum and just pretty valuable. This is the one that he actually carried. It's in just a regular silver case. But
now,
yeah, I
can
have
you open up the back and look at the movement?
yes, on both of them. The interesting thing about the first one I showed you, um, you can wind it, but you can't set the time unless you actually open the case. It has a little lever that you have to pull out sideways because it was used by the railroad and it was only supposed to be set by station masters so that everybody's watch had the same time.
Wow.
And it is accurate. It's accurate to probably a minute a year.
Hmm.
I would, yeah, have to keep the trains on a pretty tight schedule.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, you
Before
don't want them running into each other.
it was railroad time.
Yeah. Yeah. My grandfather was on a train before the US had time zones, I believe. And my dad was a watch and clock repairman. So one of the things I inherited from him was a couple of anniversary clocks, which are one of my favorites. You wind them once a year. They'll run a year on a winding. It's the equivalent energy of a 5-pound rock falling 5 feet.
Okay.
Well, at sea level.
The standard temperature and pressure.
Okay. So
Nice.
these are once a year
This is a
wine,
pocket.
and the pendulum is suspended by this
A hairspring.
really thin wire. I don't know whether you can see it there in profile or not.
Yeah, just is yeah, it's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an anniversary clock.
Yes. And what I found is a simple act of stopping the clock and starting it will change the way it keeps time. So I spent 10 years trying to get this damn thing to keep time by adjusting the plus and the minus. And I finally discovered that every time I stopped it and started it, it would keep a different time. So there was no adjustment to it. And that's why it's sitting under this dusty damn dome. It doesn't keep time. I'm sorry, it's pretty, it's nice, it's a pleasure to watch, but it doesn't keep time.
You had one job.
So one of the things that they changed on those to make them more accurate was on the escapement. They would pay, I'm trying to remember what it was called, but there was a chain that ran from the spring drum to the take-up drum, and it was in a channel that was a spiral, and they were reversed. So when it was fully wound up, the chain was pulling on a small diameter on the spring to a large diameter on the drum. And as it wound down, it went the other way so that the torque on the mechanism was always the same. And at that point, the way you adjust them is you file a little bit off of the balls, or if it has adjustable balls, you adjust the balls in and out instead of actually using the plus and minus that adjusts the tension on the spring.
Well, this plus and minus is on the balls itself.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
But
very, very sensitive.
yes, as I said, stopping it to adjust it and starting it, I didn't need to make adjustments. All I needed to do is stop it and start it, and it would keep a different time. Yeah, I can still remember I had a stack of old IBM cards and I had one under the clock. And I put down the date, I put down the change in time from normal and what adjustment I would make. And then the whole card is filled up with adjustments I was trying to get the thing to keep time with. And it finally dawned on me that I didn't need to plus or minus the adjustment. Simply stopping it and starting it would start it at a different time or a different rate.
I just remember I don't know anything at all about watches really, and I remember going to this auction and sitting there watching these people who at the time I thought had more money than common sense because they were spending thousands of dollars on some of these watches. And of course, I recognize some of the big names like Rolex and stuff, but they were spending way more money than I would have ever thought. And I was like, huh, there must be something to this watch thing.
Well, it's interesting. Julie's grandfather and her father were both auctioneers. So growing up, Julie attended auctions every weekend and estate sales. And her philosophy is simple. In the end, it's just stuff.
It's just stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I used to go to auctions all the time. That was what I would do. Just wake up in the morning, make sure Patty was at work, and go to 2 or 3 auctions. Come home, pick her up, do the same thing the next day. But you don't find as many live auctions anymore. Now almost everything's online. So, so I thought maybe Ray would be here today and talk about his find at Hamventions. But I guess not. So Ray's got what are those things? Little terminal,
The little Dell Wise boxes, those are
yeah,
uh,
terminal boxes.
RDP clients. That was all they were built for. And they're already preloaded with Linux.
Are they?
Yeah.
Nice. Um, did he ever say how much he actually paid for those? He said he got them cheap.
Yeah. No, he didn't. Um, I'm seeing them for about 30, and I'm getting the impression he got them for less than that.
Well, I would hope so.
Yeah.
Well,
But
I had, go ahead.
those are relatively recent. Those were produced in like 2018, 2019. So yeah, they should be pretty decent and last quite a while longer.
Yeah. He was giving them to us if we have a project or something, and then he was going to learn something. So,
Well, I haven't talked to Ray since I set him up with my stepson to pick up a 36-inch HP printer scanner that Staples was getting rid of. And I think he actually got it this time.
oh, okay. Well,
He said anything about setting up an incubator there in the old journal building?
not not to me. What kind of incubator?
Well, like small businesses would share office space and resources.
Oh, I know there's a couple of those, or there were a couple of those already downtown. Um, but no, he hasn't said anything about that to me.
You're not talking about a makerspace. You're talking about a business incubator.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Because he's talking about a makerspace there too.
Yes,
Yeah. Well, and
yes.
banquet space, and uh, that building, it it's a big building. There's a lot you could do with that, and it's tall. Yeah, it's not as big as it could be. That's true. It's all open on the inside. Have you been in it recently, Steve?
No, the last time I was in there was a long time ago.
Yeah. It it's the top two floors are open. And then like the middle floor was uh it was poorly made, poorly done to be like apartments, which would probably make good office space.
Hmm.
And then like the entry floor, um, that's kind of an open plan, but it was kind of officey. And then like where the loading dock was is a huge open area, and then the printing press area is a huge open area.
Yeah, that's quite open vertically. I think it's like 3 floors from the pit to the top of where the presses were.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's yeah. One of the
And down there
floors,
beside that room, there's a weird little hidden from everything room with a low ceiling that I liked. I could hide there.
one of those floors that uh the floor, it was a wood floor. It was really, really nice wood, but it had gotten wet or something, and it had started to bow. And the floor, you could look at it, it was just doing waves. So I don't know how he was going to end up fixing that, but I think that was the floor he was going to use as the banquet room. There's plenty of room to do all kinds of stuff in there.
Well, I think the last time Julie and I were actually in there was when he was still trying to get rid of all of the antique storage stuff that was stored there and all of that crap.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he's cleaned
40
up.
tons of cast iron from a press.
Yeah.
He's cleaned it up a lot. So
Did he keep the safe that was just inside the front door?
I don't. I honestly don't know. I don't know if he did or not.
That was kind of impressive.
Um, I, I know I haven't been in there since, oh, that's probably been, well, it's probably been a couple years now. It was probably when he was trying to clean out all the stuff. But he took me all over the building. I mean, we went all over the place. And I think the last time I was in there, he didn't have electric ran to it. He was using a generator or something and had just had lights. So
Yeah, I think we were using flashlights when I was there.
it I I I remember I remember delivering papers and I would get papers from there. I don't ever it always seemed like it was so full of stuff when when I was delivering papers. And Ray has cleaned it out and it doesn't seem so full of stuff.
Well, how long has it been since it was an actual newspaper spot?
Oh,
90s.
yeah, I was gonna say it has to be at least 20, 25 years, probably longer than that. I don't remember when Cox Media took it over. Uh, they they shut down they took it over and almost immediately shut it down and had Dayton Daily printing the the paper. And then they shut down that press. So I'm not real sure when they did all that. Maybe we could find out. Maybe Google knows.
So was this only ever a newspaper printing place, or did they do other commercial printing?
As far as I know, they only did newspaper.
Okay.
And the Middletown Journal, as far as I remember, was independent. It was an independent place. And then pretty sure it was Cox Media bought 'em.
Yep. Um, they closed November 1st, 2013, when it merged with the Hamilton Journal News.
Well, that's a lot more recent than I thought.
Yeah.
Because I would have been
Well,
like, you.
wait. No, that's not right. Middletown Journal, published in Middletown, Ohio, 7 days a week by Cox Media. The paper was printed at Cox's plant in Franklin and distributed in Butler and Warren. But when did the plant in Middletown close?
Yeah, that's when Cox bought 'em, they moved production to Dayton Journal, which was here in Franklin, and then they closed that. Dayton Journal, uh, Dayton Daily, um, they did print things other than newspapers. They had a press that would print magazines and other stuff, and you could digitally send them items, and they would print them. It was an awesome setup, but
So it looks like it was sold to Cox September 2nd of 2000.
So that's more or less where I was thinking. 99, 2000, something like that.
Founded January 12th, 1857.
Yep. But they when Cox bought them, they almost immediately closed the Journal building and just moved the production up to Dayton Daily. So
Yeah, I always wondered how much they paid for that huge building along the highway there. And I know they had some of the Comco presses in there, and I know what they paid for those things. And then they closed that within a couple of years. Somebody
yeah,
had to take a huge loss on that.
yeah. I don't really I never really understood if you've got something that's working. Of course, the Journal building was old, so I kind of understood them closing it and moving it to a more modern facility. But Dayton, Dayton, it was a pretty modern plant, and they could get digital. Uh, uh, you do your renders or whatever and send it to them over, I think, over a satellite, and they could print off as many copies as you wanted. And they could do magazines and newspapers and all kinds of stuff. So I never really understood why they closed that one, because that one could print papers from pretty much anywhere in the country.
Mhm.
You had the logistics of getting it to wherever it was going, but my my buddy who had told me about all that, he had taken a tour of it, and he said, yeah, they're printing like New York Times there and some other papers, and they get that's how they distributed them around here. So
Yeah.
you get New York Times the day it was published, in Cincinnati or at a newsstand here locally. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Never
Yeah, the
really thought
presses
about
they
it.
had in there were able to print two up. They were printing on 4 foot wide paper that got slit and then cut down further and folded in half and folded in half and
Yeah,
then rolled. Those presses were just freaking gargantuan.
yeah. And by all standards, I mean the Journal building's press was small. It was by
Yeah.
all. I mean, it's a huge press, but it was a small. If you're doing, you know, 10,000, 100,000 papers, it's small, it's tiny. So I understood why they closed the Journal building. Journal building was old, but I never really understood why they closed Dayton Daily.
Was
People
there
stopped
that?
buying newspapers. The
I was
internet
gonna,
happened.
I was gonna say,
But
does anybody buy a newspaper these days?
my dad, my
Really?
my dad still gets the paper, yeah.
What's he get?
I would have to look, but I'm pretty sure he gets Middletown Journal. They're still around. It's just
Yeah.
its
Cincinnati.
distribution is down to nothing.
Cincinnati Enquire's like $50 a week or something for delivery. It's stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Julie finally gave up receiving a paper newspaper because, as you said, Barry, it's an insane amount of money for nothing.
Well, it does give you something to cover the bottom of your bird cage.
Yeah, that's true. Many uses for old
Very
newspaper.
useful.
Well, But my thinking was even though newspapers are a dying breed, the daily Dayton Daily building was capable of printing magazines and other stuff. And magazines, they still sell those. I mean,
Oh yeah.
you might not buy a lot of them, but they still
Well, they're
sell them.
pretty expensive now anymore.
Well, that's
Yeah.
because nobody buys them.
I remember as a kid, we had subscriptions to Mother Earth News, um, Reader's Digest, Popular Electronics, Popular Science, Popular Mechanics, probably, probably Women's Day or something. I don't know. Mom got a couple of magazines too, but
Mm-hmm.
the family got probably 10 different monthly periodicals.
Mm-hmm.
I go into Micro Center and I see the magazines at the checkout and I'm like, oh, that looks cool. Holy crap, that's $12.
Eh,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I I just can't see it.
so the
Besides which, the paper takes up space. So if you want to archive anything, you got this stack of old newspaper.
yeah. Well, I used to subscribe to Compute and Compute Gazette back in the day. And then um the last magazine I subscribed to, I think, was Nuts and Bolts.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um,
That's pretty good. The last
yeah,
computer magazine I subscribed to was Computer Shopper when that was an inch and a quarter thick and
yeah.
Okay.
weighed 8
Mm-hmm.
pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
Last one I saw that was barely a pamphlet.
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Well, I
had a
think,
collection of Scientific Americans from 1970 until about 15 years ago, and they changed the editorial policy. I may have mentioned before, instead of saying, what did you discover and how did you discover it? It was more like, how did you feel about discovering it?
I
Yeah,
feel great about knowing stuff.
a lot about nothing.
So I packed the
Yeah,
whole parcel up, took them down
yeah.
to half price books and sold them by the pound.
Yeah,
Lately, almost all articles were about brain and some kind of research that no one's know what's going on, how your brain works,
Yes.
and a lot of nonsense stuff.
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I was going to say, I think for Compute Gazette, think it was $15 for the year. And
Yeah.
for Compute, I think it was a little bit more. It might have been $20 for the year. Um, and Nuts and Bolts I've picked that up at a ham fest, and I think it was $15 for the year for that. And they gave me a digital copy of it. Plus
Wow.
plus the plus the magazine. And now I'm like Steve. I go in like at Kroger's. Oh, that magazine looks interesting. I'm not paying $17 for a magazine. That
Mm-hmm.
ain't happening.
Well, I would go into the library and spend 4 hours going through all the periodicals and sitting down and reading them. And now they have like 1/100th of the number of periodicals that they used to carry, and I was shocked at how
Yeah,
little they have.
yeah.
And the other side of that, I really liked Mother Earth News. They had some very down-to-earth electronics stuff, especially with solar. So I ended up getting this. Every issue of Mother Earth News
Oh,
from 1970 to 2021. It was under $100. Uh,
That's pretty cool.
They're PDFs. If anybody needs a an issue of Mother Earth News. Let me know.
Cool.
Somewhere I
And
have a insane amount of issues from like issue one of, I want to say Popular Mechanics, I think,
Oh, nice.
from like issue one to like 1990s.
So starting when they were about 15 cents to going up to about $1.
One of the things I do miss, though, out of Scientific American is they would publish stereo photographs. So you had two different images, and if you worked at it, you could hold them in front of your face and focus on one with the left eye and one with the right eye, and the image would become three-dimensional. And they did that stereo images of molecules, as well as the one I remember was of Charles Darwin. And I never really was a fan of Charles Darwin one way or the other, never read about him or anything like that, other than general knowledge. But it was kind of neat to see that image just pop out in front of your face with nothing more than holding the paper at the right distance.
kind of like those Magic Eye
Yes,
posters.
exactly.
Yeah.
Just linked.
Would say,
Magic Eye.
They have an image of the week, changes weekly.
There was, I don't remember what magazine it was in. It's either popular, it's probably Popular Electronics. It was mid 80s. They had a series of how to build a artificial network. And that is one set of magazines I wish I still had because it was interesting. Um, I I wish I could remember what the actual article was or who actually published it. I might be able to find it online, but you got like a little glass jar thing and these analog electronics um could sense light and it would set up new networks depending upon which direction the light was shining on it.
well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was kind of a interesting thing, and it was 3 or 4 articles long, and in the end, you had a working brain.
And one I remember, and it got me into an interest in electronics, among others, was in Omni magazine, and it was on biobots or something like that. It was analog robots that thought like insects. Trying to remember the name of the fellow that was pushing those.
Oh, I remember going to Read More Books bookstore. Used to be on Brill Boulevard behind Burger King.
Yeah,
And I would go in there and the place had a very interesting smell. It kind of musty book smell, but it was all brand new stuff. And I would take my little notebook and sit for hours copying computer programs like out of Byte and other stuff until they either told me to leave or it was time to go home or, it's time to close. And I would just sit up there for hours and then go home and, okay, let's try this out.
Yeah, Byte
because
magazine was wonderful.
yeah, Byte was one of them I couldn't afford. Compute Gazettes always seemed more accessible to me, but I always liked Byte. Byte was always a fun magazine to explore. And I mean there were others up there and I used to like just save money so I could buy like books about the TI 99 and other stuff. And it's, you know, bookstores are a thing of the past now too. You don't see
Pretty
them in the
much.
bookstores.
Well, you still see half-price books,
Yeah.
but
Well,
I mean, Borders is gone. Barnes and Nobles is gone.
Depends on where you're at in the country.
Yeah.
I said there's books a million all over the place, and there's some Barnes and Nobles still floating around. They're just Cincinnati has Jack.
yeah, I think there's still a couple of Barnes and Noble, but the difference, I I know there's still a couple of independent bookstores in town, and half price books is great, but it's used books mostly. It's, you know,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, by the time you have a computer book in your hand, it's outdated.
Oh yeah, obsolete.
That's
well,
the
I like ebooks. I think ebooks are great,
Hmm.
and then I use them out of the library, fiction only. But the Ohio Digital Library has all this fiction that you can download, read, and the big thing about it is you don't have to remember to return them because at the end of the 3 weeks, they just disappear into the ether.
well,
When I was a kid, by which I mean probably elementary school through junior high, a large portion of my financial affairs were spent on library fines. And it was so bad that my mother would get a call from the librarian. Uh, you know, do you realize that you have 15 books that are all overdue?
Uh,
yeah.
I went to grade school and high school with two twins, and they discovered that if you went to the library and put your books in the book return after the people had gotten in the library, but before they opened the doors, they would pick them up and restack them and not worry about that whether they were overdue when they were returned. So they had a habit of avoiding late fees by doing that until one day they were putting their hands through the books and someone grabbed their hand from the inside. That pretty much ended their late return avoidance. And that library did have a particular smell to it.
Yeah.
Now, I remember going to the library late late 90s, and you had to get a little sticker on your library card to use the internet.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah.
forgot that entirely.
Well, this was to assure you of only the purest thoughts, or what? What was the purpose of this sticker?
They didn't have any way of censoring what you were seeing, and they didn't want your parents to get upset if you saw boobies.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
it's not really focusing. But this little sticker right here that is shifted, says
The yellow,
internet.
yeah.
And this is still this is the library card I use at Midpoint.
Mm-hmm.
You notice it says Middletown Public Library?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That was before it became Midpoint.
Well, that was before the roof caved in probably and they moved to the new building.
Just after they moved to the new building, I think. Yeah, 125 South Broad. That's the new building.
Yeah.
But I
Somewhere
still
in my somewhere in my piles of junk, I've still got a paper library card from Lane Public from 19 probably 80, 79, 75.
I one of the librarians at Midpoint asked I think I was checking a book out or something, and I just went up to them instead of using the new system and handed them that, and she was like, "Wow, I haven't seen one of those in years."
Well, you were talking about not seeing naked flesh on the internet, right? Because he was a youngster. I was 24 or 25 when I first went into Middletown Library, and I had to have a sticker on my card to use the internet.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think um the internet was new and they only had so many computers and you had that's um they only had so many computers and they would limit your time. You would go up to the information desk, say, I'd like to use a computer, and they would give you a computer for 45 minutes or something, and then you would have to watch your time.
Yeah. It's
But
been so long ago, I don't remember the exact mechanism, but it involved paper and uh,
that's the Mason Library
okay.
because I got it. And they also gave me a full-size Mason Library card. But yeah, it it was quite a bit different. I don't know if it was so much to keep you from looking at stuff that they didn't want you to look at, or if it was we only have like 10 machines.
And
You could book an hour's worth of time at a time. And it also was very, very early. Nobody had laptops. You couldn't just walk in there and use a laptop like today.
golly.
It was very, very early in internet history. 98, 99, something like that.
The Carnegie building there that's now falling in on itself. I was in that building, I think, for about a year before they moved to the new building. And I don't recall that they had any internet access at all in there.
Yeah. All I remember about that particular building was summer reading programs for kids. I was very young. That's all I remember about that particular building. It I remember it being rather large, rather stuffy, and all the shelves were very, very close together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I s- did you hear what, 3 or 4 years ago somebody wanted to buy that and turn it into a restaurant?
No.
Yeah, they're morons. I mean, we're going to pay a lot of money, and then we're going to pay at least $1 million to have it fixed. Yeah, try $10 million to have it fixed.
right?
That building's collapsing. That building should have been tore down years ago.
Yeah, it's derelict, no question about it. The roof is caved in.
Yep.
The exterior roofing is just missing entirely in large sections. So it's not like a bucket is going to catch the leaks.
What
No,
building are you talking about? Those
the
tall
the
ones alongside Sorg?
Uh,
the original library
yeah,
on South
it was
Main
the
Street,
Carnegie Library, and it is there on.
it's on Main Street.
No, it's not. It's not
No,
on
it's
Main
not Main Street. It's on First. It's on First.
First, and not on Broad.
Not Broad. No.
It's across the street from the Catholic Church, diagonal across the intersection.
It kind of set behind Vale School.
Yeah,
Behind Vale School? Okay, that I can.
Or now I guess it depends on which direction you're coming from. It could be in front of Vale School. It would have been behind Vale. It was behind Vale. Um, Across the street from K KFC, KOC, or the Oreos.
yeah. The Knights
Yeah.
of Columbus.
Yep. Knights of Columbus.
Okay.
Does anybody have any suggestions on disposing of old UPS batteries or Prius batteries?
Ooh.
You mean you don't just put them in the trash?
No, Rumpke had a big fire in Batavia the other day for that.
Oh,
Really?
really?
Yeah,
Mhm.
somebody threw away a lithium ion battery and it caught fire in the truck.
Oh, in the dump truck? In the
Yeah,
garbage truck?
yippers.
It had to have been fairly good size, I'd think. There's no oxygen in those things unless it was like one of the early pickups. Huh. Um, I know Safe Harbor takes them. You may call a scrap yard. I mean, there's quite a bit of valuable metals in those things. They may take them. If they're lead acid batteries, you can probably take them to um, AutoZone
Yeah.
and get store credit for them.
Yeah, I didn't know if they would be big enough for a car dealership to mess with, but I know the parts place or whatever anyway. But I didn't think that whether they'd take a Prius lithium or metal hydride or whatever they are. I didn't try to just toss it out there. Thought somebody might know.
Yeah, I'd give AutoZone a call. There's a chance they'll take them. And like I said, on lead acid batteries, they'll give you store credit for them. I mean,
Yeah. I just assumed that they would only dealt really in car batteries, but they might, since those are pretty good sized ones.
I just posted a Google link to
Oh,
that building.
1320 First Avenue.
so I lived right behind that at one point.
And it probably was falling down when you lived there.
It was.
It does actually look like last time I saw it, all the grass had grown up around it and all kinds. Does actually look like maybe the city has at least mowed the yard once. Once or twice. It says that image was captured July 2024, so it's
Still
Relatively.
there.
relatively recent. Yeah.
Well, I think it still says Carnegie on the outside of the building.
It says something. I can't really read it. I think it says library. Yeah, public library. It probably says something else. Trees in the way.
When I lived up in Middletown, I lived on Young Street, trying to remember the address. I think it was 221. Um, and that's right around the corner from that.
Yeah. No, you were just having a hard time picturing where it actually was. You're not used to people actually talking about the old library.
And as I recall, those are huge sycamore trees that surround that.
Yeah, I just remember,
It looks fine.
yeah, a
A
little
little
paint.
spray rubber, a little paint, you'd be good.
It'll be fine.
And what it says over the door is free public library.
Free public library. Okay. The tree was kind of in the way. I couldn't. Oh, no, those bricks at the top haven't lost all their mortar or anything, and you can't really see into the roof there at all.
Backside.
Probably not getting a good picture of the backside
That's,
of it.
let's say that's just a little of the what they call that. Starts with an F. Electroflanging.
Yeah, that's all it is. Little,
Little
The, the
character.
gutter fell off or something, maybe.
ca- or something. Yeah. Oh, it looks like I don't really remember that. It looks like there was a second room added to it or something at some point. That I don't remember them doing that, but But here's the interesting thing, I think. They've already tore down Vale.
Yeah.
Vale's already gone. And yet this building has been sitting for who knows how long, forever, just falling apart. The city doesn't make any sense.
1911.
Okay, the building was erected in 1911.
Or is the number of the emergency number to call?
You're going to need the emergency number if you go in that building.
214 Young Street. Just found it. It's still there, apparently.
Where you lived?
Yeah. While we lived there, there was a house across the street that was one of the first ones when Middletown decided that they were going to just tear everything down that was unoccupied, unless the city already owned it, of course. So now across the street from that, there's just an empty lot that it looks like somebody's been using as a alleyway. Hmm.
The roof was off in 2009.
Well, the only thing that was wrong with Vale was the theater was collapsing. The balcony and stuff wasn't safe. You don't even have to go in that part of the building. And they've already tore it down. It's gone.
Hey, so you can purchase that property for 50,000.
Yeah.
The old library building?
Yeah, it's been for sale since 2024.
Ooh,
It's been off and on for sale for a lot longer than that. And I bet that the guy who bought it, who thought he was going to put a restaurant there, went, "Oh, no, I'm not doing that."
They got 47 pictures of it.
The inside,
Oh, so I'm looking at the outside so far. Oh, there's the inside.
buckled floors and collapsing roofs.
Actually, floors don't look too horribly bad.
Maybe somebody bought it and actually put some work into it.
The
Like it.
There's some spots in the ceiling that could use a little work, though.
It's just the open air ambiance.
Yeah, millennials like eating with the garage door open, so why not? We'll just go one better. We just won't even have a roof on the building. I knew people that used to live on Young Street. Actually, Edwin, the youngest kid, lives on Young Street. But I knew people that lived on Young Street.
Actually, a couple of the rooms don't look too shabby at all.
where are you looking?
It's Zillow.
Zillow.
Ah, okay.
I just posted it up.
Yeah, I saw. Thank you.
See all 47 rooms.
But
Well,
there's a lot of ceiling work need to be done. A
that's
lot of
why
ceiling work.
that's why I said
Marble's in good shape.
it really looks like somebody did actually do something with it. Because the last time I saw it, the grass was as tall as the freaking building was.
There's a couple walls that look a little concerning.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want to climb that staircase.
Forgot about that staircase. Oh. Oh, look, open floor plan from the top to the bottom. Don't tell Ray. Ray doesn't need another project.
Yeah, a
That
makerspace. Nice place for a makerspace.
building
Curious
is
about the wall with all the little slit windows.
Yes,
It's nice because everything needs to be made.
Eh,
yes. The makerspace is the project. The first project in the makerspace is the
rehabbing.
The to be done space.
Well, you could start up a house remodeling company and a club, and time you get done restoring this building, buddy, your students would know what they were doing.
The monster family can live there.
Is that does that picture say 1982? Is that when they retired that?
That's what the bottom artwork is. Yeah.
Wow.
Going down. No?
Curious about the
You
section
can
with the
have a
cement
restaurant,
block.
but you need a helmet if you want to have dinner there.
Yeah, that's I I don't think I want that building. Yeah, really, seriously, the last I heard, somebody wanted to buy that building and turn it into a restaurant.
It's a steal at 50K.
but
How many
who's
15,000 square feet. I wonder how much land it's on. No baths, no beds, just big. Oh, maybe the 15,000 is the size of the lot. Hmm.
seems to me like the lot really wasn't all that big.
I'd say the lot size says it's 8,456 square feet. 56
And
by 151.
apparently in 2023, somebody valued it at 160K, and it has gone down since then.
Down to $3 per square foot.
now? This is just my opinion, but you couldn't take the asbestos out of that building for $50,000.
I would wager a lot of the asbestos is laying on the floor at this point.
Yeah, while it's
Uh,
down,
I was
you
gonna say,
still have to handle it.
did they install asbestos in this stuff after a building was built? 'Cause that
Well,
would have
I'm
predated it, wouldn't
pretty
it?
sure that that building would have had steam radiators and a steam boiler, all of which would have been steam lagging or asbestos lagging. Built in 1911.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just below the cost graph, there's an estimated net proceeds, and their estimated prep and repair costs is listed as $6,000. According to that, I could afford to
Turn
pick
it
this
into a
place
home.
up.
The estimated cost is six grand.
To repair it, just to do the repairs.
You couldn't get a contractor to look at it for $6,000.
Yeah.
Uh, hmm. Zillow really wants to sell this place, don't they?
Yeah. Well, if you click on the little info button, it's most homes need a few repairs before selling. 8 out of 10 sellers end up making at least one repair improvement, blah, 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 blah. And the average cost of that is about 6K.
Ah,
So people dump about 6K into their house to sell it. And that, generally speaking, raises the value by somewhere between 10 and 20,000.
wow. That's so nice of them to think that this is a house with no problem, with no major problems.
This says it was sold April 30th of 2024.
Yeah, I saw that. But I didn't see who owned it before. Butler County Realtor or Butler County uh, Auditor has that type of information. It tells who had it, when it was sold, and for what. But I haven't pulled that up.
Well, it's got an MLS number there.
Oh. Hopefully it wasn't Ray. We got a couple of minutes left. So we are virtual again next week. And then the following week we will be at Westchester.
Okay.
So the 29th of this month we will be virtual, and then June 5th we will be at Westchester.
Okay.
And then I've got us booked for Westchester up until the point that I can book us, except for in July, which I think we're going to end up having like 4 virtual meetings in July because neither one of the libraries was available. So,
Well, you could probably book that Carnegie Library that we've been looking at.
yeah, that might be all right. I I bet Ray's got a generator and some floodlights we could use.
But is there any internet?
No, no, I would doubt we would have internet. Steve's hotspot maybe.
The sun's up. It'll be bright in there.
It'll be bright. So, uh, anybody got anything else? Any pressing issues? Nope.
Yeah, what do I install my computer?
What?
I said, what should I run on my computer? Proxmox or VMware?
That seems like
Ubuntu with Docker containers?
yes,
Zen.
all that. Just install everything. It's all good. Just install everything. All right. I'm going to go eat dinner, and I will see you guys next week. All right.
Okay. Take care. Have a good week.
We'll see you
See you
later.
guys.
Bye.
Good night, folks.
Take care.